Hi, this is the video for Daf Peh, page 80 of Masechet Ketubot. I am Joshua Kulp. I am sitting here, actually, this morning. I arrived here early at the conservative yeshiva in Jerusalem to avoid the traffic. So it is very early in the morning, and I am very happy to be speaking to you. And I wanted to clarify something from the beginning of the page, going back to the Mishnah that appears on the bottom of page 79 that says, if the husband eats a little bit of his property, of his wife's property, and spends a lot of money to take care of his wife's property, because he both consumed and spent money, he doesn't get to recover the costs that he used to improve his wife's property. And the Gemara basically goes into what is it considered to be consuming some of his wife's property. And there's a story right at the top of the page on page 80. Amre Daine de Pumbedita, the judges of Pumbedita say, Avad Rav Yehuda uvda bechavirei zmurot, that Rav Yehuda did this deed with bundles of grapevines, zmurot, right, which are not food, right? You can't eat the grapevines, but the Rashi explains that he actually fed these to his animals, and basically the question that's being asked here is if he doesn't eat himself the produce that grows on the field, but rather he gives it to his animals, does that count as consumption such that he cannot now claim the costs from his wife's estate for improving her estate? And Rav Yehuda says the answer is yes. The Gemara backs this up by saying Rav Yehuda letame. Rav Yehuda follows his own reasoning. De'amar Rav Yehuda achra orla shvit v'kilayim harezo chazaka. Rav Yehuda says that if he eats orla, fruit grown in his first 3 years, shvit is sabbatical year produce, or kilayim are mixed seeds that grow in a vineyard, behold, this is chazaka. So a brief word about chazaka. Chazaka means that somebody acted on a piece of property as if it belongs to him, and as such can create a presumption of ownership over the property. Now, I should note that this has to be accompanied with a claim that he acquired the property. So if I go to a certain person and say, look, I bought this property from you, and I have witnesses that say I've been living here for 3 years, but I lost my deed, so I can't prove that I bought it from you. But had it been your property, you wouldn't have let me live there for 3 years. I can't just go to somebody's property and take it over by living there. I have to at least claim to have bought the property or acquired it in some way. In any case, I don't want to get into the laws too deeply, into the laws of chazakah. The problem is matching up the pairs of the statements over here. Why does the fact that Rav Yehuda gave grapevines to or somebody gave grapevines to an animal to eat, and Rav Yehuda considered that that the husband had consumed his wife's property? What does that have anything to do with the consuming orla, shvit, or kilayim, forbidden produce, and that's considered living on a property such that it should be considered chazakah? So Rashi explains, this is a bit complicated, that he didn't really eat orla, shvit, or kilayim, prohibited substances, prohibited foods, because eating prohibited foods would not count as chazaka, would not create presumption of ownership, because people shouldn't be eating them. Rather, what did he do? He fed this stuff to his animals, which gets us into a discussion of why is it considered chazaka, which is kind of complicated because you're not allowed to derive benefit from these either. So Rashi has to then go further and explain that the person who saw him eating or giving this stuff to his animals, and I was using the grapevines as animal feed, wouldn't have thought that the other person is consuming it, and so he didn't protest. And nevertheless, he believes that it is chazaka. I should note, complicating this issue is the fact that in Bava Batra, we have the exact opposite tradition. Rav Yehuda says if he ate orla, shvit, or kilayim, it's not chazaka because those are prohibited. So that makes it even more complicated. But over here it says that it is chazaka, so we have to understand that he fed these to his animals, and because it counts as chazaka, as presumption of ownership, that shows that feeding things to animals counts as use of a field, both in terms of chazaka and in terms of not being able to receive compensation for one's wife's, for the improvement that one put into one's wife's fields. I realize this was a little bit complicated, but it is really actually a very difficult little piece of Gemara, and I wanted to just at least explain some of what the issue is in hand here, how it's not the issue of a person's consumption, but the issue of does it count if your animal consumes of the field, and how Rashi knows that that's what the Gemara is talking about.